My sister canceled my birthday cake order. Hi everyone. Before we get into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel's reach has been dropping a bit, and one of the best ways you can support us is by subscribing. It's quick, free, and helps us keep bringing you new and interesting stories. Your support means the world to us, and together we can grow this channel. Thank you so much. Now let's get to today's story. I'm writing from a temporary account for obvious reasons, and I've changed some details to protect my anonymity. There are some wounds that never quite heal, no matter how much time passes or how much you try to convince yourself that it doesn't matter anymore. The wound of having your joy stolen from you, again and again, by the people who are supposed to love you most. The wound of learning, early and repeatedly, that your happiness is expendable, that your needs come last, that your dreams are something to be managed or minimized or simply erased when they become inconvenient for others. I learned this lesson first when I was 7 years old, and I've been learning it ever since. But this year was supposed to be different. Let me start at the beginning, with birthday cakes and broken promises and the slow, painful education of a girl who wanted nothing more than to feel special once a year. My earliest birthday memory is from when I turned 5. I had seen a princess cake in the window of Romano's bakery, a magnificent pink castle with towers and flags and little sugar princesses dancing around the base. I pressed my nose against the glass every time we passed that bakery, which was often since it was on our way to my sister Claire's dance classes. "Mama," I said, tugging on her coat sleeve, "could I have that cake for my birthday?" She glanced at the cake, then at Claire, who was already whining about being late for her lesson. "We'll see, sweetheart. We'll see." "We'll see" was my mother's way of saying no without actually saying no, though it took me years to understand that. I spent weeks dreaming about that princess cake, drawing pictures of it in my coloring books, telling my kindergarten friends about the magical cake I was going to have. When my birthday came, there was a cake. A simple sheet cake from the grocery store with "Happy Birthday, Emma" written in blue frosting. It was fine. It was cake. But it wasn't the castle, and it wasn't special. And even at 5 years old, I felt the sharp sting of disappointment that would become so familiar over the years. The princess cake was too expensive, my mother explained when she saw my face. And besides, Claire has her recital next month, and we need to save money for her costume. Claire, always Claire. 2 years older, more demanding, more dramatic, more everything. The kind of child who filled up all the space in a room just by being there, leaving little oxygen for anyone else. That became the pattern. My birthdays were afterthoughts, squeezed between Claire's dance recitals and cheerleading competitions and theater auditions. Simple cakes from the grocery store, if there was time to pick one up. Sometimes just ice cream and store-bought cookies when my mother forgot entirely and had to improvise. "It's not about the cake," she would say when I tried to express my disappointment. "It's about family and love and being grateful for what we have." But I wanted it to be about the cake, at least a little bit. I wanted something that was just for me. Something that said my birthday mattered as much as Claire's recital or Claire's competition or whatever Claire needed that month. When I turned 10, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I saved my allowance for 2 months and walked to Romano's bakery myself, clutching $15 in crumpled bills. "I'd like to order a birthday cake," I told the woman behind the counter, trying to sound adult and responsible. She looked at me with kind eyes and asked about the date, the size, the flavor. I chose chocolate with vanilla frosting and asked for yellow flowers, my favorite color, with "Happy 10th Birthday, Emma" in purple letters. "That'll be $18, she said gently. "Do you have $3 more?" I didn't. I stood there feeling foolish and small. My $15 not enough for the one thing I wanted most. The woman saw my face crumple and quietly told me she could make a smaller cake for $15, just enough for my family. It was the most beautiful cake I'd ever owned. Small but perfect, with delicate yellow roses and my name written in elegant script. I carried it home like it was made of glass, so proud and excited that I could barely contain myself. My family was surprised when I walked in with the cake box. Claire looked at it with barely concealed annoyance, as if my initiative was somehow an inconvenience for her. "Where did you get that?" my mother asked. "I bought it myself, with my allowance, for my birthday tomorrow." "That was very independent of you," she said, though something in her tone suggested she wasn't entirely pleased. The next day, my 10th birthday, I woke up earlier than usual and went to the kitchen to see my cake. The box was still there, but when I opened it, my heart stopped. The cake was ruined. Someone had smashed their finger into the frosting, leaving a deep gouge right through the middle of my name. The yellow roses were crushed, the beautiful script illegible. "Claire," my mother called upstairs. "Come here, please." Claire came down in her pajamas, looking perfectly innocent. "What? Did you do this to Emma's cake?" "It was an accident. I was just looking at it and I slipped." Even at 10, I knew it wasn't an accident. You don't accidentally destroy someone else's birthday cake. But my mother accepted the explanation with the same resigned tone she used for all of Claire's accidents. "Well, we'll just have to make the best of it," she said. "We can cut around the damaged part." I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the ruined cake against the wall and demand that someone, anyone, care about the fact that my one special thing had been destroyed. Instead, I went to my room and cried quietly, learning another lesson about how much my happiness was worth. The years blurred together after that, a series of forgotten birthdays and last-minute celebrations and cakes that were afterthoughts. When I turned 16, when most girls get elaborate parties and special attention, my mother forgot entirely until Claire reminded her at dinner. "Oh my God, Emma, I'm so sorry. Your birthday is tomorrow, isn't it?" Not was. Is. It was already past midnight. "It's okay," I said, because what else could I say? "We'll do something special this weekend," she promised. But the weekend came and went with Claire's latest crisis taking center stage. College was supposed to be different. Away from the constant drama of Claire's life, I thought I might finally have space to celebrate my own milestones. But even 300 miles away, Claire found ways to make my birthdays about her. She would call during my birthday dinner with friends, sobbing about some emergency that required immediate attention and support. She would post long, emotional social media tributes about how much she missed celebrating with me, making herself the center of attention even on my day. She would send me guilt-inducing texts about how family should come first, especially on birthdays, and I fell for it every time. I would excuse myself from my own celebrations to talk her through her latest crisis, to provide emotional support, to be the reliable little sister who always put family first. After graduation, I moved back home temporarily while I looked for my own place. Claire was still living there too, between boyfriends and jobs and whatever her latest plan was for her life. Being in the same house again brought back all the old patterns, all the familiar dynamics of my needs being secondary to hers. That's when I decided that my 28th birthday would be different. This year, I was going to do something special for myself, something that couldn't be ruined or forgotten or overshadowed by Claire's drama. I started planning 2 months in advance. I made reservations at my favorite restaurant, invited a small group of close friends, and most importantly, I decided to order the birthday cake of my dreams. Not from the grocery store. Not a simple sheet cake with generic decorations. I was going to Romano's Bakery, the same bakery where I'd pressed my nose against the glass as a child, where I'd bought my first cake with my own money. They had expanded over the years, become famous for their custom cakes and elaborate decorations. Their Instagram feed was full of stunning creations that looked more like art than food. And I was going to have one of them. I spent hours on their website, looking at designs and flavors and decorations. I wanted something that represented me, something that showed the world that Emma Quiet, overlooked Emma, had her own style and preferences and dreams. I finally decided on a 3-layer chocolate cake with salted caramel filling and cream cheese frosting. The outside would be covered in smooth buttercream the color of dusty rose, with delicate sugar flowers in shades of ivory and blush pink cascading down one side. At the top, instead of the traditional happy birthday, I requested celebrating Emma in elegant gold script. It was going to cost $250, more money than I'd ever spent on anything for myself. but I had been saving for months, setting aside money from every paycheck specifically for this cake. The day I went to place the order, I felt like a child on Christmas morning. I had printed out pictures of the design I wanted, made notes about the flavors and decorations, even practiced what I would say to make sure I sounded confident and adult. Romano's had moved to a larger location since my childhood, but it still smelled the same vanilla and butter and sugar, the scent of celebrations and special occasions. The woman behind the counter was different, younger, with bright purple hair and multiple piercings, but she listened carefully as I described my vision. "This is gorgeous," she said, looking at my reference photos. "Really elegant. Is this for a special occasion?" "My 28th birthday," I said, and I couldn't keep the pride out of my voice. "I've been planning it for months." 28 is a good year," she said with a smile. "I'm going to make sure this cake is absolutely perfect for you." We went through every detail, the exact shade of pink for the frosting. "Think of roses at sunset," I told her. The placement of the sugar flowers, cascading from the top left to the bottom right, like they're falling gently. The style of the gold lettering, elegant but not too formal, like calligraphy but easier to read. She wrote everything down carefully, asked questions about dietary restrictions and pickup times, and gave me a receipt with all the details spelled out. The cake would be ready at 3 p.m. on my birthday, 2 hours before my dinner reservation. $250, paid in full, she confirmed. "We'll call you the day before to confirm pickup." I walked out of that bakery feeling lighter than I had in years. For once, something was going exactly as I planned. For once, I was going to have the birthday celebration I'd always dreamed of. I told everyone about the cake. My friends, my coworkers, even my family. I showed them pictures of the design, described the flavors, talked about how excited I was to finally do something special for my own birthday. My mother seemed pleased. "That sounds lovely, sweetheart. You deserve something beautiful." Claire's reaction was harder to read. She looked at the pictures I showed her and made appropriate noises of approval, but something in her expression seemed off. Calculating, maybe. Or annoyed. $250 for a cake? She said. "That's a lot of money." "It's my birthday cake," I replied, "and I saved up for it. I'm just saying, you could probably get something just as nice for a lot less money. But this is what I want." She shrugged and changed the subject, but I caught her looking at the receipt I'd left on the kitchen counter, studying the details with more interest than seemed necessary. The week leading up to my birthday was perfect. My friends were excited about the dinner. I had taken the day off work to pamper myself, and every time I thought about that beautiful cake, I felt a flutter of anticipation in my chest. The bakery called Wednesday to confirm my Friday pickup, just as promised. I verified all the details again. The time, the design, the flavors. Everything was perfect. Thursday night, I could barely sleep. 28 years old, and I was as excited about my birthday as I used to be when I was 7. I had planned every detail of the day. A long bath in the morning, a manicure at noon, pickup of the cake at 3, dinner with friends at 5. I woke up Friday morning feeling like the world was full of possibilities. The sun was shining. I had nowhere I needed to be except places I wanted to be. And in a few hours, I would have the most beautiful birthday cake in the history of my birthdays. I took my time getting ready, choosing my outfit carefully, a dress the same dusty rose color as my cake's frosting, because I wanted everything to coordinate perfectly. I did my hair and makeup with unusual care, took selfies to commemorate the morning of what was going to be the best birthday ever. At 2:30, I drove to Romano's bakery, practically vibrating with excitement. I had brought a special cake box with me, one designed for transporting delicate creations safely, because I was not going to let anything happen to my perfect cake. The purple-haired woman from the week before was behind the counter again, but when she saw me, her face fell. "Emma?" she said tentatively. "Yes, I'm here to pick up my cake. The 3-layer chocolate with the sugar flowers." She looked uncomfortable, glancing toward the back of the bakery where the kitchen was located. "I'm sorry, but there's been a problem with your order." My stomach dropped. "What kind of problem?" "Your order was canceled. Yesterday afternoon. I'm really sorry." We tried to call you, but the number we had didn't go through. Canceled? The word didn't make sense. I didn't cancel my order. The caller said she was your sister. She said there had been a family emergency and the party was canceled, and she needed to cancel the cake order to get the refund. The world tilted sideways. My sister? She knew all the details of the order, the flavors, the decorations, even the pickup time. She said she was handling the cancellation for you because you were dealing with the emergency. Claire had canceled my cake. She said her name was Claire. The woman continued, clearly seeing the shock on my face. She was very convincing. She said you would be devastated, but that the family emergency took priority. I stood there in the middle of Romano's bakery, wearing my carefully chosen dress, holding my special cake box, feeling like I might throw up or scream or both. Is there any way to make another cake? I can pay extra for the rush order. The woman looked genuinely sympathetic. I wish I could help, but we're completely booked for today. And a cake like yours, with all the sugar work, it would take at least 2 days. But it's my birthday. Today is my birthday. I'm so sorry. If you'd like, we have some smaller cakes available in our display case. Nothing as elaborate as what you ordered, but I looked at the display case. Simple round cakes with basic frosting and minimal decoration. The kind of cakes I'd been settling for my entire life. No, I said quietly. No, thank you. I walked out of the bakery in a daze, my hands shaking as I fumbled for my car keys. The refund had already been processed, the woman had told me. $250 back to my credit card, as if the weeks of planning and dreaming and anticipation had never happened. I sat in my car in the bakery parking lot and called Claire. Hey, Em. She answered on the third ring, her voice artificially cheerful. How's the birthday girl? You canceled my cake. A pause. What are you talking about? You called Romano's yesterday and canceled my birthday cake. You told them there was a family emergency. Emma, I have no idea what you're talking about. Why would I cancel your cake? The woman at the bakery said someone named Claire called with all the details of my order and canceled it. Well, it wasn't me. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe someone else named Claire called about a different order. But even as she said it, I could hear the lie in her voice. The careful innocence, the practiced confusion. I had heard that tone countless times over the years when she accidentally broke my toys, when she forgot to give me important messages, when she made mistakes that always seemed to work in her favor. Claire, it's my birthday. I've been planning this for months. Why would you do this to me? Emma, you're being paranoid. I wouldn't sabotage your birthday cake. That's crazy. Then explain to me how someone else would know all the specific details of my order. The flavors, the decorations, the pickup time. I only told those details to family. I don't know. Maybe you told other people. Maybe the bakery made a mistake. Maybe you should be focusing on the fact that someone clearly made an error instead of accusing me of something I didn't do. I wanted to believe her. Despite everything, despite all the years of small cruelties and deliberate sabotage, part of me still wanted to believe that my sister wouldn't deliberately ruin my birthday. But I knew. Deep down, in the place where I stored all the accumulated hurt from years of being second place, I knew she had done this. I have to go, I said. Emma, don't be upset. It's just a cake. You can get another one. It's not just a cake. Then what is it? I closed my eyes, sitting there in the parking lot where I should have been loading the most beautiful birthday cake I'd ever owned into my car. It's the only thing I asked for. The only thing I wanted that was just for me. And you took it away. I hung up. For a long time, I just sat there. People walked in and out of the bakery, carrying cake boxes and smiling, celebrating their own special occasions. I watched them through my windshield and felt completely hollow. My phone buzzed with texts. My friends asking about dinner plans. My mother wishing me happy birthday. Coworkers sending birthday emojis and asking about my famous cake. I couldn't face any of it. I couldn't sit at dinner with my friends and pretend to be celebrating when the one thing I'd been most excited about was gone. I couldn't smile and laugh and act grateful when I felt so completely empty. I called my friends and canceled dinner. Food poisoning, I told them. So sorry, maybe we could reschedule for next weekend. Then I drove home, still wearing my dusty rose dress, still carrying my empty cake box. Claire was in the living room when I walked in, watching TV and eating ice cream straight from the container. She looked up when I entered, her expression carefully neutral. "How was the bakery?" she asked. "You know how it was." "Emma, we already went through this. I didn't cancel your cake." "Stop lying to me." She set down her ice cream and turned to face me fully. "I'm not lying. But honestly, even if I had canceled it, which I didn't, maybe it would have been a favor. $250 for a cake is ridiculous. It's wasteful and self-indulgent and honestly kind of pathetic." There it was, the truth slipping out around the edges of her denial. Pathetic? You're 28 years old, Emma. You're not a little girl anymore. All this drama over a birthday cake, it's childish. Wanting to celebrate my birthday is childish. Spending that much money on something that's just going to get eaten is childish. Making such a big deal out of one day of the year is childish. Getting this upset over a cake, yes? That's childish. I stared at her. This woman who had dominated my entire childhood with her own dramas and demands, and need to be the center of attention at all times. This woman who had thrown tantrums when she didn't get exactly the right costume for her recitals, who had demanded elaborate Sweet 16 parties and graduation celebrations and engagement parties. This woman who had never, not once in her entire life, been told that her desires were too much or too expensive or too childish. "You're right," I said quietly. "It is just a cake." Claire smiled, clearly thinking she had won the argument. "But it wasn't your cake to cancel." Her smile faltered slightly. "You called the bakery yesterday and told them you were me. You knew exactly what to say because you had been listening to me talk about this cake for months. You canceled the one thing I was excited about for my birthday because..." "Why, Claire?" "Because you couldn't stand to see me happy? Because you needed to remind me that you still have power over my life? Because $250 on something that makes me happy was somehow offensive to you?" "Emma, I'm not finished." And I wasn't. 28 years of swallowed words were finally coming up, and I couldn't stop them if I tried. "You have been sabotaging my happiness since we were children. Every birthday, every achievement, every moment when I might have felt special or important or worthy of attention, you found a way to make it about you, or take it away from me entirely." "That's not true." "When I was 7, you convinced Mom that Chuck E. Cheese was too expensive for my birthday party, but somehow we found the money for your dance costume the next month. When I was 10, you accidentally destroyed the cake I bought with my own allowance. When I was 16, you had a crisis every single time I tried to do something for my birthday. Those were coincidences. When I was in college, you would call during my birthday dinners with manufactured emergencies that required hours of my attention. Last year, you scheduled your housewarming party the same weekend as my birthday celebration, and then guilt-tripped me when I said I couldn't come." Claire's face was getting red, the way it always did when she was about to lose her temper. "You're being ridiculous. You're making everything about you. It's my birthday. Today is supposed to be about me." "It's one day, Emma. One day out of 365. Is it really so important?" And that's when I understood. Finally, completely, with a clarity that was almost painful. It wasn't about the cake. It had never been about the cake. It was about the fact that Claire couldn't tolerate anyone else being the center of attention, not even for one day. It was about her need to control every situation, to make sure that everyone's happiness depended on her approval. It was about the fact that she saw my joy as a threat to her own importance. "Yes," I said, "it is that important. Because it's the one day that's supposed to be mine, and you took it away from me. Again." "I didn't." "You did. And we both know it. And the worst part is that you're not even sorry. You're not sorry that you hurt me. You're not sorry that you ruined something I was looking forward to. You're just sorry that you got caught. Claire stood up, her ice cream forgotten. Fine. You want to know the truth? I did cancel your stupid cake. Because you were being ridiculous about it. $250 for frosting and sugar? Like you were some kind of princess who deserved a royal celebration. It was embarrassing. Embarrassing to who? To the family. What would people think if they knew you spent that much money on a birthday cake? What would they think about the kind of person who needs that much attention on their birthday? They would think I'm someone who values herself enough to celebrate her own life. They would think you're selfish and spoiled and what? What would they think, Claire? She was quiet for a moment, and when she spoke again, her voice was smaller. They would think you're more important than me. There it was. The truth underneath all the years of sabotage and cruelty and casual destruction of my happiness. She couldn't let me be important because it might mean she was less important. I am important, I said quietly. I matter. My happiness matters. And I'm done pretending it doesn't just to make you feel better about yourself. Emma, come on. We're sisters. We're family. You can't let a stupid cake come between us. I'm not the one who let a cake come between us. You made the choice to prioritize your own discomfort over my happiness. You made the choice to lie and manipulate and hurt me. You made the choice to cancel my cake because you couldn't stand the idea of me having something beautiful. I looked around the living room where we'd grown up, where I'd learned to make myself smaller and quieter and less demanding, so that there would be room for Claire's bigger personality and bigger needs. I'm moving out, I said. What? I'm moving out. This weekend. I should have done it years ago. Emma, you're being dramatic. It's just a fight. Families fight. Families don't deliberately sabotage each other's happiness. Families don't lie and gaslight and manipulate. Families don't make one person responsible for everyone else's emotional needs while ignoring their own. Where are you going to go? I'll figure it out. I have savings, I have friends, I have options. What I don't have is any more patience for this dynamic. Claire looked genuinely panicked now, as if it was finally occurring to her that there might be consequences for her actions. What am I supposed to tell Mom and Dad? Tell them the truth. Tell them that you canceled my birthday cake because you couldn't handle me having something special, and that I decided I'm too old to live in a house where my needs don't matter. They'll think you're overreacting. Maybe. Or maybe they'll finally understand why I've been unhappy for so long. I started toward the stairs, planning to begin packing immediately, but Claire's voice stopped me. Emma, wait. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry I canceled your cake. We can figure something out. We can go to the grocery store and get something nice. We can make it work. I turned back to look at her. This person who had shaped so much of my life through her casual cruelties and deliberate sabotage. No, I said. We can't make it work. Because this isn't about the cake, and it never was. This is about you needing to control me, to manage my happiness, to make sure I never have anything that doesn't somehow serve your purposes. And I'm done with that. I don't need to control you. Then why did you cancel my cake? Thus, she didn't have an answer for that, and we both knew why. I went upstairs and started packing. It didn't take as long as I thought it would. Amazing how little space your belongings take up when you've spent most of your life making room for other people's drama. By Sunday, I was moved into a small apartment across town. Nothing fancy, just a one-bedroom place with decent light and enough space for me to spread out and remember who I was when I wasn't constantly managing other people's feelings. My mother called Monday morning, just as I was settling into my new routine. Emma, Claire told me what happened, about the cake and the fight. I think you're both overreacting. Really? You think I'm overreacting to having my birthday ruined? It's just a cake, sweetheart. Family is more important than cake. Mom, she lied to a business, impersonated me, and canceled something I had been planning for months. Something I saved up for and was really excited about. How is that not a big deal? Claire feels terrible about it. She says she was just trying to help, that she thought you were spending too much money. She was trying to help by lying and canceling my order without telling me? She was worried about you. We all were. $250 is a lot of money for a cake. And there it was again. The assumption that my judgment was flawed, that my priorities were wrong, that other people knew better than I did what I should want or need or spend my money on. It's my money, Mom. And it's my birthday. I'm allowed to spend my own money on something that makes me happy. Of course you are, but no buts. I worked for that money. I saved it specifically for this one thing. And Claire took it away from me because she didn't approve of my choice. She's your sister, Emma. She loves you. People who love you don't sabotage your happiness. People who love you don't lie to businesses and cancel your orders behind your back. My mother was quiet for a long moment. What do you want me to say? I want you to understand why I moved out. I want you to understand that this isn't about a cake. It's about 28 years of my needs coming last, of my happiness being expendable, of being told that wanting something for myself is selfish or childish or wrong. We never said you were selfish. You didn't have to say it. You showed it. Every time Claire's drama took precedence over my milestones. Every time her needs got attention and resources while mine got dismissed. Every time someone in this family decided what was best for me without asking what I actually wanted. Emma, I love you, Mom. I love this family. But I can't live like this anymore. I can't keep making myself smaller so that everyone else can feel bigger. After I hung up, I sat in my new apartment and looked around at the space that was entirely mine. No one else's drama. No one else's needs. No one else's judgment about how I should live or what I should want. For the first time in my adult life, I felt free. The next day, I went back to Romano's bakery. The purple-haired woman recognized me immediately. Oh, honey, how are you? I felt so bad about what happened with your order. I'm actually doing better, I said, and I meant it. I was wondering if you could make me a cake for this weekend. Something small, just for me. Of course. What did you have in mind? I thought about it for a moment. I could order the same elaborate cake I'd originally wanted, prove to myself that I could still have beautiful things. But somehow that didn't feel right anymore. Something simple, I said. A single layer, chocolate with vanilla frosting. Maybe some fresh flowers on top instead of sugar ones. That sounds lovely. What should I write on it? I smiled, thinking about all the birthday cakes I'd had over the years, all the generic messages and afterthought decorations. Just, happy birthday, Emma. Bye. In whatever color you think looks best. I think gold would be beautiful, she said, to match the flowers. Perfect. Saturday afternoon, I picked up my cake. It was simple and elegant and exactly what I wanted. I took it back to my apartment and invited 2 close friends over for dinner. People who had been disappointed when I canceled my birthday celebration the week before. People who understood the significance of me finally doing something just for myself. We had a quiet dinner, good wine, and easy conversation. When it was time for cake, I lit a single candle. I was done with elaborate birthday candle displays and made a wish. I wished for the strength to keep choosing myself, to keep valuing my own happiness, to keep believing that I deserved beautiful things and special moments and celebrations that were just for me. My friends sang happy birthday, and I blew out my candle, and we ate cake that was delicious and perfect and mine. Later, after they had gone home and I was cleaning up the dishes, I found myself thinking about Claire. Not with anger anymore, but with something that felt like pity. She had spent so much energy over the years trying to diminish my happiness because she was terrified that there wasn't enough joy in the world for both of us to have some. She was wrong, of course. Happiness isn't a finite resource. My joy doesn't take away from hers. My special moments don't make her moments less special. But she couldn't see that. Maybe she never would. I thought about calling her, trying to explain, attempting one more time to make her understand why her actions had hurt so much. But I realized I didn't need her to understand. I didn't need her approval or her apology or her acknowledgement that she had done something wrong. I needed to understand it myself. I needed to acknowledge that I had value, that my happiness mattered, that I deserved to celebrate myself without asking permission from anyone else. And I finally did understand that. Sitting in my own apartment, eating leftover birthday cake, surrounded by the quiet peace of a life that belonged entirely to me. It had taken 28 years, but I was finally done making myself smaller for other people's comfort. I was done apologizing for wanting beautiful things. I was done accepting scraps of attention and affection from people who saw my needs as inconveniences. I was done being grateful for less than I deserved. My phone buzzed with a text from Claire. "Mom says you're not coming to Sunday dinner anymore. This is ridiculous, Em. It's been 2 weeks. Get over it." I looked at the message for a long time, thinking about all the Sunday dinners I'd attended over the years, sitting quietly while Claire dominated the conversation, listening to her dramas and crises and complaints, offering support and advice that was rarely reciprocated. I thought about the guilt I would feel if I didn't respond, the familiar tug of obligation and family loyalty, and the belief that keeping the peace was more important than standing up for myself. Then I deleted the message without responding. Instead, I opened my laptop and started writing. I wrote about birthday cakes and broken promises. I wrote about learning to value yourself in a family that doesn't value you. I wrote about the difference between being loved and being controlled. I wrote for hours, the words pouring out of me like they'd been waiting years to be released. When I finally stopped, I had the beginning of something that felt important. A story, maybe. Or a memoir. Or just a very long letter to myself about the person I used to be and the person I was becoming. I saved the document as my sister canceled my birthday cake order and closed the laptop. Outside my window, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of dusty rose. The same color as the dress I'd worn to pick up a cake that no longer existed. The same color as the frosting I'd dreamed about for months. I made myself a cup of tea and sat by the window, watching the light change and thinking about birthdays yet to come. Next year, I decided I would throw myself a proper party.